how to learn no traction control on F125 using a controller. So what actually is traction control then? So traction control in Formula 1 is a technology designed to prevent wheel spin during acceleration, particularly in high-powered race cars. It helps drivers maintain grip and control, especially when exiting corners or wet surfaces. By regulating the engine's power delivery to the wheels, traction control aids in optimizing speed while reducing the risk of losing control of the vehicle. So the first thing we're going to cover is how to understand when the car is losing grip when accelerating. So I'm using a controller right now, and obviously I'm in a lower gear. So if I go down to gear 1, I'm going to show you what happens on no traction if I fully accelerate and don't turn at all. You can see the car goes straight for a spin, but if we replay that back to here, I'm going to show you the method that I'm using. So let's actually get to the next corner, so that'll be a little bit easier to show you. Obviously the first thing I'm doing is braking in a straight line, so you're using no ABS as well, and going down into gear 4, and I'm building up the throttle. As soon as the car's straight, I'm full accelerating, so using all the way for the track there. You can see a lot of drivers, if I show that corner again, a lot of drivers, the main problem is when they're using no traction control is they're trying to turn and accelerate at the same time, or try and go to full throttle, should I say, at the same time, and that's what's causing the rear end to spin. So if I try and do that again, see how I'm turning, I'm still turning the wheel, but if I replay that back to where I was and just show you what happens if I wait for the car to straighten up before I go on throttle. So I'm using all the track, see the curb on the right outside, and as soon as I'm on full throttle, that's when obviously the car will grip up. And it's the same again for this awkward corner, so I'm going to show you. Slowly get on the throttle. As soon as I've full throttle is when I've got the car in a straight line. And if I do it while I'm trying to turn, we'll see what happens. So again, braking just before that curb, and you can see I'm trying to turn and apply the throttle. So that's one thing you've just got to practice, is wait until you've got a straight line. It doesn't have to be straight on the track, so I don't have to be facing this way or like on the racing line and going straight. You just want to apply it when you're going to be going straight for a prolonged period of time. So this is actually a really good corner to test it. So I'm going straight now, and that's when I've applied full throttle. So you just got to practice that. So what are the differences then between full traction and no traction? So I've put full traction on for now. I just want to show you something. Look at the rev counter closely. You can see when I get on full throttle, you can see the rev counter just pushing back and forward slightly. That's basically the traction control kicking in and stopping my RPM from getting higher. That was obviously is causing the spin. That is where you're losing the time. If you're ever wondering when you look at the time trial leaderboard, why am I losing so much time? You can see it there. Just them little minor flicks of the rev counter are constantly just losing you time. But if I then compare that to when you use oh, let me get off that. If we compare in a second to when I use no traction, so I'll turn that back on. So when I build on the throttle, see how there's no flickering of the rev counter. So you can see that I'm not losing any sort of power to the engine there as I'm building them on the throttle. So that is where you're losing a little bit of time. And it's also the rotation of using no traction. As I can flick it into the corner, obviously lower a gear and then get on the throttle again. But when you're on the full traction control, you have this weird thing where you can get, if you hit a curb or whatever, it can just completely bog you down. Whereas the traction, you can slide out of it and just use the oversteer to help you. The next thing we've got to go over is how do we minimise how much we are turning the car. So one thing that F1 games have always required is a very smooth travel style. especially on a controller. On the wheel, being aggressive can sometimes be beneficial to your lap time, but on controller you want to remain as smooth as possible, because you haven't got as much area to correct obviously that oversteer or whatever you're having out of that corner as you do on a wheel. So you've got to be really careful how much you're turning. So smooth inputs are going to help you massively. The more you can learn how to be smoother on the game, the faster you will become over time. And obviously this isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to be something you're going to have to practice. And I started off on the F1 games back on F1 2010, I believe, and my inputs have changed a lot since then. If I look back at some of the videos from a few years ago, a lot of you guys are twitching the controller too much. If I'm constantly just, I try and represent that a little bit better than that. A lot of people, even just driving straight, obviously if you just take your hand off the controller, you can drive in a straight line. Are you minimising as much time as you're missing? But a lot of these drivers are very twitchy, so they're twitching into the corners. Not only are you losing time, it's also not helping especially when you're using no traction control on the higher speed corners. If you're turning the wheel too much, say for example Cops Corner at Britain, if you turn the wheel too much there, you'll notice your back end's lost. And a lot of people think it's down to setup, but it's actually down to how much you're turning. So you can run a risky setup, you've just got to keep your inputs as smooth as possible, and that'll help you a lot. So try practicing some tracks that are a little bit more tricky, with a lot more high speed, long corners, and just try and be really smooth. My next tip is going to be finding out what gears work best for you. Just because you've seen a esports lap, for example, around Bahrain or around whatever track you're using, doesn't always mean that gear is going to be the best gear for you. Obviously there is an optimal gear. They are probably taking the optimum gear, but obviously in this game using higher gears normally means you get more traction. However, you're getting less RPM input, which means you're carrying less speed out of corners. So if you're new to learning no traction, I would recommend using maybe a gear up from what every the top drivers are using. So even in some of my time trial videos, I just recommend using maybe a gear up for each corner, each low speed corner, the one I'm using, because using the lower gears makes it a lot more difficult, but obviously there's a pace advantage there. But if I was just new to learning no traction, I used to always use higher gears. That used to get me the best grip possible when racing. So have a practice, try and see what gears work best for you, but just don't always copy what some of the faster drivers use, because obviously they're used to feeling the car. My last and final tip is going to be practice, and I know it sounds basic and it's probably what everyone has told you in the past, but it's not just about practicing, it's about practicing the right track. So stuff like this, like Bahrain, as I can just show an example of losing the back end. Tracks like Bahrain have a really good mix of corners. So they've got low speed, they've got the high speed, and they've got the medium speed corners. So they're the sort of tracks you want to aim for. You don't want to be doing 100 laps of Austria because it's only got 2 or 3 variations of corners throughout the whole lap. So there's not many on that track. So try Bahrain, Hungary, Zandvoort, places like that was a little bit of a mix between high speed, low speed and medium speed corners, and just give it a go. And try not to put full traction back on, even though you really will feel like you need it. You'll gain so many temps by just trying your best to practice what I've taught, what other people will teach you, and overall you'll become a faster driver at the game. I've tried to keep the video nice and short, nice and sweet, to try and hopefully help you guys learn how to learn no traction. And obviously it is going to take time, but yeah, hopefully you take some of the tips you found and apply it to your game. And I'll try to make more videos like this one if you want no ABS and maybe manual gears as well. I'll try and make a video on it and make it a little bit more detailed. Obviously this one's quite short. But yeah, I'll see you for the next video. It's probably going to be another time trial setup video, so let me know what tracks you want to see in the comments.